Right, hello, this is going to be a video on Introduction to Windows Forms Programming. So I'm going to do it in Visual Studio 2019 because that's what you're going to likely to have at home, okay? So we're going to create a new project. Now, it's important that we use the correct type of project here. So I'm going to do a Windows format, .NET framework, all right? So C# Windows Desktop, and you can see from there it's not necessarily going to be the first one. There is their Windows Form, that .NET framework. There are many WPFs as well. Windows Forms are the easiest ones to use, even though it's been around a lot longer. That's a bit more modern, but for some talk, anyway, we're going to use this one because it is a lot easier, it's much more straightforward. Right, so it's a Windows Form app .NET framework. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using. So make sure when you follow this that you're doing the same thing. So click next, and I'm going to give it a name, Intro to WinForms. Now let's click create. Now what should happen is you will get a slightly different interface than what you're used to with let's change the background because it's not projecting this. Can't bear this. Let's go dark. Now, so what straight away you will see, that you'll notice that you get this form here. All right. Now I'm going to pin the properties. This is where you actually need the properties as well as Solution Explorer. Well, you could argue you don't really need Solution Explorer on this particular one, so I'll just unpin that. But I'll keep the properties there. Right, so you've got this form here. You should also have Toolbox. If you can't see View Toolbox, just click View Toolbox and it will appear. Right, just run it and you will see a form pops up, which is just like a panel. Okay, little window. All right, and that's the program running. So it's created quite a bit of code already to do that. Now, if you want to see the code that it's already created, there's my form 1 there. And if I expand that, you've got all this designer code that it's put in as well. All right. In the early days of Windows programming, you would have had to create that yourself. So that's good. Right. So So what we got then? So we got my form selected. You can tell it's selected because it's got these little squares around it, and you can see it. These are properties. Now, form is just a class. It has properties, and these are the many properties. So if I go to back color here, I can change one of its properties. Let's go for nice pale yellow, and you will see now when I run it. Okay, it's now a yellow form. Okay, so that's what's called changing things at design time. If I change the properties of this form now, I'll go to the text property. Actually, I prefer the A to Z is easy to follow. Text there, it says form 1. So again, I can change that to be intro. Okay, and you'll see that it's changed that text there on the top of the form there, which will also do it there. Okay, now so that's pretty basic. There's not really any programming done at all there. Now if I want to, I can actually do some programming on this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a button. Okay, so we're going to go to the toolbox and find a button. So it's a common control button, so nothing fancy about that. So there's the button. Just make it a bit bigger, and it's click on it, and you can see I've now selected it, and the properties for that button will now appear over here. Now the first thing you want to do with any control that you're adding is rename it. Now this is a button, BTN. The reason for that is when you have lots of buttons on the form, when you're coding, you can just type BTN and all your buttons will auto complete on you, and it's much easier. So I'm going to call that button color, and I don't really need to do anything else. I could change the color and stuff like that. I could change the text. Actually, I'll go text as well. Change that to color. Whoops. Right. Now, when I run it, you'll see there's now a button on the form that I can now click, Nothing's happening now because I haven't written any code. So now we're going to write some code. Now the easiest way to do some code, if you just double click on the button, you get the default event method. All right. So it's gone into a code window. There's the design up here. There's the code window. All right. I can get to that code window by going right click, view code as well. But because I double clicked on that button, it created this event method here. Now the event method is called btn color underscore click. So it's picked up on the name there, okay, of the button, and then created this method. So we know it's click because it says underscore click. Now, as I said, there's much more going on in the background there in the designer code than just this, but that's all we need for us. Now what we're going to do is now change the color of the form from yellow to pink. Right, so I want us to change the form. So this is going to only run, this event method, when I click the button. So when the form's running, this doesn't run until I click the button. So I'm going to say this means my current class, which is the form. And I'm going to say dot back color. So now I'm just accessing the properties that I did at design time, equals color dot pink, as it's the Giro d'Italia at the moment. That seems, let's go for hot pink. Okay, that seems relevant. Now, so I've got no errors, that's good. Now, so let's just run it. Check, click that, and then there's the pink button. All right, so if as soon as I click that button, that event method runs, and so forth. All right. Now we can add other methods as well. Event methods. Now if I go back to my form design, click on my button, go to the properties, and you'll notice you've got that there, the events. So if I click on that, you can see these are all the events that I can have. So mouse click, I've got mouse hover. Let's click on that. Now if I just press enter there, it creates an event method, mouse hover. So mouse hover is if I move my mouse over the top, it's automatically going to run this. So let's just quickly do one. So I'm just going to do mbox. Mbox is just a pop-up. It's just a shortcut for message box. And then I'm just going to say, traditionally it's higher. Or if I could type. Right, so now, if I just move the mouse over, it's going to run this. So let's run it again. And so I'm not clicking, just moving my mouse over, and then we get the higher coming up, okay? And that's quite irritating, all right? So there we go. So we've created two event methods. I can close that down. I can click view code. I can go back to my code there. Now you've got to be a bit careful. If you end up not liking that event method and you want to get rid of it, it will cause you some errors. I'll just quickly show you the error message. No, I won't actually. We'll save that for another time. Okay, so in theory, don't delete them. Now, what we need to be able to do is be able to do the equivalent of the console read line or console write line. Okay, so we need to be able to read in and output stuff. Now, we could output stuff on anything that we can see on here by just changing the text property. So, for instance, let's go back to the code. And I can go, right, btn, there's my button, dot text, equals mouse hovered, hooved, that'll do. That's annoying, this table, it's creaking. Right, now let's run it again. So move my mouse over, click OK, and then mouse hooved. Okay, this is annoying. Let's get rid of it. Okay, now, so let's add up two numbers and output the answer. So in order to do that, I need to be able to read something in. So the easiest way to do that is to use a text box. Now there's many different ways you can get input. So I'm looking for a text box on here. There it is there. So you can just type anything you like in a text box. we go. Just make that a little bit bigger. Come on. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that then. And then I just do Control. No, okay. It's hard to do on my laptop. Right, let's just add another one as well. Text box. There. All right. Now, if I just run that, I haven't renamed them yet, but I should do. Okay. If I just click my mouse in there, I can just type any old stuff in there. Okay. Right. So same with that one. Now, what I really need to do is rename those. So I'm going to rename. Should we got that one selected? Yep. And then at the moment that should be called text box 1. It is. That's not a great name. So let's rename that. Now I'm on the events. So I want to go back to there. Let's get back to my properties, and I'm looking for. I'll click off that. Oh, that's right. There we go. And now the name there is at the top. I'm going to call that txt because it's a text box no one. Okay, and then I'm going to call the other one rather than text box 2 txt no 2. I'm not sure if I camel case the first one, but we'll soon see. Right, so now what I need is an event to add up two numbers that I'm going to put in there. So I need a button really. So what I'm going to do is just put a button there for them to do. So I'm going to go to Toolbox, add a button there. Now this button here is going to add up. So make sure I get the button selected. God damn. Sometimes it gets a bit stupid. Right. Right, there we go. So the text on now, I'm just going to put a plus sign. That's what I'm going to do for now. And I'm going to call it BTN. There's a lot of renaming stuff at the beginning, but button add. Now, so double click on the button. So when I click on that button, I'm going to add up the numbers in those text boxes and then display the answer. Now what I need is somewhere to display the answer. So if you want something that can only output stuff, then a label is the way to go. And I need to give that a name. Let's just pin out the properties. That would be so much easier. Right, there we go. Right, so let's give that a name. If you want it bigger, then you can change the font property, which I'm going to do in a minute. So label, LBL, and ands, because it's going to display the answer. Now let's change the font size because it's going to be too small. Right, there we go. So let's do 16. You should see makes it a bit bigger. Now, when I run it, it's going to say label 1 in there. So I need to change the text property. But the problem is if I put nothing in there, it kind of disappears. So I'm just going to put an underscore in there for now, a couple of underscores. Right, so I'm good to go. So I've got a button called BTN add. I've got my two text boxes, txt number 1, txt number 2, and I've got my label LBL ands. Right, so I can now do some coding. Right, so in here, what I'm going to do is I need to read the first text box. So I'm going to say int no1. So it's just an integer equals what's in the first text box. So I need to convert .2 in 32 what's in the text box. Now the text box is just an object. All right. So if I just said that, it's not going to be able to do that. All right. It contains lots of properties. So I have to say the dot, and this is something that people forget to begin with. So text, txt. So txt number 1 is an object, okay, and then I have to go right. Okay, I need what property do I want to read from that? Is the text property, okay. So that's the first one, All right, so I'm converting what's in text box number 1, the text property, which is the text that you can see in there, and then in node 2 equals convert dot 2 in 32, and then txt. So this is why we're doing txt, so it brings up all the text boxes. Dot text. Right, so now we've got numbers in there, and whoops, good choice from the int and equals no one. It's not going to win any awards, this program, but plus number 2. Okay, and all I have to do now is put this ands here in my label. So LBL, and now it's be tempting just to go equals that. Okay, but it's not going to work. So I'm going to have to do dot text. So it's the dot text property equals that. Now, because it's saying, oh, well, actually, that needs to be converted into a string, which it does. I could do convert dot to string, but the easier thing to do is just do dot to string there. Okay, right. So we've read. That's how you read values from the user using a text box, but there are many other ways. You can use list views, all sorts. We're now adding them together there, no different than what it would be before, and then we're displaying the answer in a label. So let's run it. Now, if I don't put numbers in there, it will crash, but that's something we can worry about another day. And then, so 55 plus 44, yes, 99. Right, there we go. So there's some really basic stuff there, but just input, output, properties, event methods. There's quite a lot there to get your head around to begin with. All right. Okay, and that, they say, is that.